Looking at the evaluation of the engage phase to this lesson, there are several positive components as well as some suggestions that we had for improving this lesson. Some positive components were that students are engaging in scientific practices of using models as they examine the images of the organelles, as well as the scientific practice of obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information as they're filling out the data chart. The teacher can use the information about misconceptions or possible prior knowledge that students have as they're circulating while students are working. And they can use that information to drive discussion, instructional plans in later phases, particularly in the explain phase, as they are correcting any of those misconceptions that students have. As noted in the chart of teacher behaviors on page 31 of our Designing Meaningful STEM Lessons textbook, it's important to note that the teacher should not make corrections to student answers at this time because students will have an additional opportunity to explore the phenomenon of cells as a system during the explore phase. For suggestions we had for improvement, students are becoming engaged by looking at the images of the organelles, potentially already integrating it with their prior knowledge, which is a key component of inquiry. Since this is a middle school lesson, students should have the prior knowledge that plants and animals have internal and external structures that serve various functions in growth, survival, behavior, and reproduction. That was an end of 5th grade expectation. However, this lesson may best fit after students have already been exposed to MS-LS1-1, which states conduct an investigation to provide evidence that living things are made of cells, either one cell or many different numbers and types of cells. This would be to ensure that students understand what cells are before going and delving into the specifics about each cell and the organelles that are in them. Noting this in the lesson outline that was given to us would improve the usability for teachers and just clarify that a little bit. In the engage portion of the outline in the textbook, it notes that students should be asking themselves questions after the engagement, but it doesn't really give any suggestions as to the types of questions that might include. To improve this lesson for teachers, listing some sample questions might support the probing questions of the teacher behavior look-fors for STEM lessons. Some of the questions students may have could be about the commonalities of the rationale they gave for the images that they labeled animal cells versus the commonalities that they labeled the images as plant cells for. Lastly, there could be some increased collaboration with comparing and contrasting their thoughts and rationale with other small groups in class before going ahead to move to the explore phase. That would support the ELA practice of building upon the ideas of others and articulating their own clearly when working collaboratively. It could also be helpful to share out their responses with the whole group, maybe compile a class chart in addition to the individual charts to refer back to throughout the phases of the lesson, be a common place to track changes in student thinking as they kind of reshape or maybe correct some of those misconceptions throughout. Though technology is typically the end goal of this new way of looking at a STEM lesson, technology could also be integrated into the lesson itself by having students share their thoughts in a common Google Doc or another type of sharing